Whilst we're stuck here in this storm with absolutely no internet, we thought we'd give you a little rundown of some of the challenges that you might face whilst living in a van. And I guarantee most of them you probably haven't even thought about. But it will help prepare you for your own van life adventure.
So here are 10 things to consider before setting off on your own adventure in your camper van. What did I do that was different to you?
You just went, here are 10 things.
What's so funny about that?
First thing, money. It isn't as cheap as you might think.
Hopefully you got some money in the bank because you do end up spending more than you think. After you've paid for the van and finished your build, it doesn't stop there. There's all kinds of little things that you don't really consider, like tolls. If you're crossing a bridge like we did from Denmark to Sweden, it was like £45 just to get across.
And they do not always tell you that. Sometimes you cross over the bridge and they at the other side just go, money please, and you have to give them money because you've crossed over. There are still expenses such as diesel, insurance, visas, parking fees.
Campsites is another thing that costs quite a bit. Some of them start at £15 and we've seen some as high as like 40 if it's in a nice area.
A lot of people stay at paid campsites for that security.
Do you want to talk to your own camera? Got you one over there.
That's so annoying. Like parking somewhere where you're allowed to park sometimes is worth the payment. It's worth not getting the knock or feeling uncomfortable.
The reason we have to do it now and then is just to do the basics, like fill up on water, empty our toilet, shower. You can save yourself a fortune just by staying in random car parks. Like we're here at some observatory thing for gazing at stars and no one has walked by in 2 days. If we were paying £20 a night, it would have really added up.
Saved us £40. You can buy me a takeaway with that.
Hygiene. Sometimes our showers are like
We could probably go with...
Sometimes they're every 10 days.
Can I clarify, we do wash ourselves. We're not...
A horse bath isn't a shower.
You can't say that on YouTube.
We don't have any running hot water in this van, so the only way we can get it is by boiling the kettle and throwing it in our bucket. So if we want to have a little wipe down, we need to fill the bucket with kettle water, and it is a little bit tricky.
It's not very glamorous, I might add.
Navigation is another big thing.
Living on the road requires significant planning, and unfortunately I am the navigator in this relationship, which is why we frequently get lost and don't find the places we're supposed to.
If your navigator is someone like Jodie, you'll drive 8 hours all the way to Scotland and not have a clue where you're staying or what you're visiting.
I'm not very good at planning journeys. I'm much more of a make it up as you go along kind of person. You have to be on top of like the things that are going on in your van, sort of how much water you have, how much food, so that when you're planning your journey, you can stop off at the supermarkets on the way to make sure that you've got enough food. So if you go off grid, you're not gonna like die. Make sure you invest in a good navigator, because once you've got one, you can't return her. Downsizing. We moved our entire life into this van. We no longer have a house, so everything we own now exists in this van. You have to be willing to live a more minimalistic lifestyle when you live in a van. You can't collect knickknacks and little bits and bobs. Well, you can, but they'll fall off when you drive, and Joe won't let me, so...
Living a minimal life is something that you really have to get used to, but once it's done, it's so freeing. Just by getting rid of stuff, you just clear your mind.
You get so much more headspace not having clutter. If you have less things to worry about and hold on to and check that you have...
Yeah, that's a big one. Having less things to worry about, it's now no longer a burden on you. You don't have to think about, is someone going to steal it or am I going to lose it?
Yeah, even things like getting rid of all of our clothes. I used to have like 2 or 3 wardrobes full of just nonsense that I never wore.
Yeah, it makes you just make a decision on your clothes. I've had underwear and jumpers with holes in and stains on. Not stains on the underwear, but...
you have to clarify that it was not the underwear that had stains on it. So living a minimal life can be difficult. You need to be sensible about the decisions you make in your van. Isolation. Van life can be a very solitary experience, especially if you're traveling alone or just with your partner. It's not often you come across people who you can chat to, especially if you're somebody who likes to park off-grid or go and explore the wilderness.
Personally, I'm a big introvert and I hate going to busy places and I love the isolation, so it's a plus for me.
I'm a little bit more social than you. You can go longer than me without interacting with your friends, whereas I miss company occasionally. There are enough ways nowadays to get the social interaction that we need.
Yeah, you talk to your friends on the phone, I talk to my friends on WhatsApp or on PlayStation. So providing you have internet, you can still communicate with everyone, talk to friends and family. Most of the people we come across here are kind of old and retired, but occasionally you see someone who's very like-minded. Like we ran into Mark and Lucy the other day, who are other YouTubers, and we did a quick van tour of theirs, they did a van tour of ours, and that will hold me for like 2 weeks. I won't need to talk to anyone, not even Jodie. Legalities.
The secret ingredient is crime. It's not always legal to park your van anywhere you want. You need to make sure you check restrictions on the place that you're staying.
Yeah, it is a bit of a grey area. You're not really allowed to do it. Only occasionally you get asked to move. But no one really knows the rules. If someone was to knock and ask us to move, you don't know if they're going to go and get a policeman and force you to leave. It's so up in the air.
You also need to be aware in a lot of places that there's a difference between parking and camping. If you don't have any external features like an awning or any tables and chairs outside, you're classed as parking. And some places do allow you to park overnight, but not exhibit any camping behaviour. So you need to make sure that the area you're in doesn't have a distinction between the two.
Yeah. One of the rules we follow is don't put your levelling blocks up in a car park or anywhere that's not a campsite, because that's kind of, you're permanent, you're there, you're definitely camping.
Yeah.
If you're just parked and you're ready to go, so as soon as someone knocks, you can just get in the front seat and drive, that's usually the way we go.
So a little tip, what we do is if we're not level in a car park, we look for a stone or a piece of wood or something natural that's around and pop it under one of our wheels and then put it back when we're done. Seems to work well. Health. It can actually be really hard to maintain a healthy lifestyle in a van. It probably also doesn't help that I'm not a very good cook.
We've got quite a big fridge, I think it's 110 litres, and we still struggle to get enough food in there. You really can't store that much healthy stuff, but it's so easy to slip into just snacking. You'll get a case of those flapjacks covered in chocolate, and you can easily eat that whole box before you get there.
If you're driving 8, 9, 10 hours a day, that's a long time of not being active, and it can, over time, start to take a toll on your back, your legs. But it's not just your physical health you have to take care of, you also have to make sure that your mental health is doing well too. So it's really important to not just spend all of your time inside the van, to make sure you go out and get fresh air. If you are a social person, there is a big community of van lifers out there who I know run sort of rallies and conventions and stuff that you can actually travel to, so you can meet like-minded people.
Space.
You better like your partner. If you're going to be spending 23.5 hours a day with them, you need to make sure you can spend time in their company without murdering them.
I wasn't sure if we could do it because Jodie does get a bit hyper and she's a bit of a pain to be around all the time.
Dude.
If you argue a lot with your partner,
or they do things that irritate you, it becomes much more pronounced when you're in a tiny little space with them.
Let's keep going. But what else really helps is if you can divide the van up into separate spaces.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we want just a bit of space or a bit of time on our own, Jodie will put up a little curtain across the bed, and then I've got the dining table / cupboard door that we call a table, and I'll sit on the computer or on my phone there, and Jodie would just sit in the bedroom area, and we're completely separate. I can't see her, she can't see me.
We can also separate this front section as well from the back of the van.
Some mornings I will pull the curtain here and I'll sit in the front and just go drink my coffee, go on my phone. And if you can divide the van up slightly, it does help a lot for your mental health.
And sort of having your own space, because although, obviously we love each other and we know everything about each other, everyone still likes to have their own personal space now and then.
Not only are you living in one room, but that one room becomes a bathroom. So sometimes if one of you needs to go to the toilet, you can't do anything about it, and Jodie will walk in and start gagging just because.
Honestly, I don't know what you do.
Some camper vans have the toilet sectioned off. We don't, unfortunately, so our toilet is bang in the middle of the van, and if someone uses it, you're going to know about it. So sectioning off the van does work for mental health, but not for smells.
Not for smells. Work. If you're someone who needs to work to be able to support yourself in van life, and it can also be difficult to find good enough internet to be able to sustain that level of work. So I think if you're going to be working remotely from your van, investing in something like a Wi-Fi booster or your own personal sort of Wi-Fi hotspot is a good thing to do.
So if you rely on internet for work, make sure you check Park for Night where it says the signal, because that's going to come in really handy.
Overhyped. Van life is a little bit romanticised on social media, and it isn't always as glamorous as it's made out to be. As we are currently parked in a car park in the middle of a rainstorm. People will see the pictures, like if you search #vanlife on Instagram, you will see loads of really stunning pictures of people all around the world. And you do get places like that, and you do get the opportunity to take pictures like that, but you have to be aware that 90% of the time it is not like that. There was that spate of people taking really beautiful photos out of the back of their van with a lovely view in the background, and it was people driving, taking the picture, and then having to leave again.
but there really is no other way you can see these places. If we had to get hotels at all these locations, it just wouldn't happen. The only way we see these places is because we're here for so long and we're able to drive around all the different areas.
And what is really good about van life, even as a navigator who should be planning the journey very well, you do have the opportunity that if you see something and think, oh, I want to drive over there and see what that is, you can. So I can just point something out to you and say, that castle looks cool, let's drive to it. And then we get to explore something that we probably wouldn't have found otherwise. In conclusion, van life has many, many downsides and it can be a big challenge, but it is the most unique way to see the world that we've ever thought about.
There's so many things and places we've seen that we never would have done unless we bought this van, and my best advice would be give it a go. If you think you want to do it and you want to see the world, then this is the easiest and cheapest way to do it. The van cost us about the same as rent for a year in a house, so if you're going to do it for over a year, you're saving money, and it's definitely something we recommend.
But don't let us put you off, because the positives definitely outweigh the negatives, at least for us. It's been the most amazing way to see the world, and it's not something I think I will ever forget.